welcome to Soul Sentred, the podcast. I'm Jaynie Morris. Welcome back. If you've listened to any of our podcasts in the past, or if this is your very first time, we're really pleased to have you join us for Soul Sentred, the podcast, where everything that we do at Soul Centre and every guest that we have has got something to tell us, to share with us around good health, wellbeing, fitness and longevity. And today's episode, we have an amazing guest. And I have a question for you. What if the real key to success, fulfilment and connection isn't something that you do, but something you actually feel? Deep question to start this episode. So my very special guest, Nerida Bint, is going to join us now, and she's going to give us maybe a little bit of an insight to that question. I hope you've written it down. If you haven't, re-listen to that, because it actually sets us up for the foundation of what you're about to hear. Nerida is Australia's leading emotional intelligence educator. She's a mentor and she's a speaker, and she's known for her compassionate, embodied approach and powerful frameworks for emotional home theory. We're going to talk to her about that because I'm not sure what that's about, and I'm sure you haven't heard that term before. And inner child mapping, that's where my interest is right now. And I hope that you enjoy this episode with Nerida. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jaynie. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So for the folks who are listening in to us right now, or of course watching us on our Soul Centre YouTube channel, can you give us a little bit of a background on you first, and then let's just dive right in?
Yes, of course. So my background actually was in fitness. I ran 2 women's only gyms based in Newcastle, founded them around 15 years ago, ran them very much focused on community, empowering women, creating a place of belonging. One of my core kind of values was to create a place where anyone felt like they were welcomed, no matter what age, shape, size or ability they were. This was off the back of a really horrible experience I had previously had. I'd grown up fairly fit in the Surf Lifesaving Club, always very active just by accident. And then my first partner and I travelled overseas and, did a couple of years in the UK. And I don't know if you've heard of the term, but I had my share of what's called the Heathrow injection, where you go overseas and you put on 10 kilos and you come home. I'd had 2 of them.
I have not heard that.
It's a bit of a thing. And I came home really, quite overweight and just felt really depressed. And I didn't know how to get the weight off. And my partner and I bought a house across the road from a CrossFit gym at the time. It was one of the first CrossFit gyms in Australia. And, most people fear going into a gym for the first time. I was not like that. I was very naive. So it's even more ironic that this happened to me. But I saw these women lifting weights, climbing up ropes, doing pull-ups, running, skipping, rowing. And I just knew, I thought, this is the thing I need to do. So one day I just got up, walked over there and just wanted to meet the owner. Basically, sign up. It wouldn't have mattered how much it cost. And, I happened to walk into the wrong gym because this owner looked me up and down and he said flat out to me, "Darling, this is not for you." So, of course, I was mortified, humiliated. I walked home really thinking, wow, I can't believe that happened. Anyway, fast forward 6 months later, a friend of mine was training at a CrossFit gym. He'd lost a lot of weight, looked really great. I said to him, what are you doing? He said, I've been doing CrossFit. And I was like, oh, it's only for really fit people. Anyway, he convinced me to go to his gym. I had the complete opposite experience. I was welcomed in with open arms. It was an incredible community. And in 12 weeks, I'd lost 21 kilos. The weight just fell off me. But not only that, I'd gotten my confidence back. I was, spending time with people who were not going out drinking every weekend. They were going for coffee, going to seminars, reading books, like growth-minded. And it was my first experience with people like that. I was like, what is this? I'm a humble young kid grown up in, housing commission. I have no idea about this mindset work. So anyway, obvious to say that transformed my life. That's what led me to go and want to start a gym where women were welcomed no matter what, because I saw what happened to me, that transformation. That helped, the confidence helped me to leave the relationship that I wasn't happy in. And it, then led to my purpose, my career. And then I ran that gym for nearly 10 years and then COVID just came along and absolutely blitzed.
Oh, yeah.
But strangely enough, it wasn't just COVID. I had gone through a breakup around the same time as when COVID hit New South Wales. And it was really a dark night of the soul. It was, I went from being in this relationship, living in this house with this man I thought I was going to have kids with and get married to. And all of a sudden the relationship was over and my business was crumbling and my accountant had said to me, I think you're going to go bankrupt. And I was just kind of like, what is happening? But little did I know it was the thing that I needed, because even though on the outside I had everything, I had a fit body, a partner that was lovely, friends that were amazing, a business that was thriving, I still always felt disconnected to myself. I always just felt like there was something off. And so I remember, this is so funny, I was sitting there, it had been a couple of months, I was completely heartbroken. I remember typing into Google because
Because Google always has the answers, right?
There was no chat GPT back then.
Google will tell you.
The chat GPT therapist I hear these days is quite good. But back then, and all my life, all I wanted was to meet someone, get married and have kids. Like I'd grown up in this home where I felt so lonely, so rejected, so unloved that's all I wanted. And I couldn't understand why it just kept eluding me. And this was the first time, I must admit, I'd had plenty of partners, but every time it didn't work out, I would point the finger and blame. Oh, he's this and he's that and da-da-da. And this was the first time in my life in 2020 where I sat there and I finally looked at it and I thought, you know what, Nerida, the common denominator is you. Why does this keep happening to you? And I typed into Google, what is it that men look for in a wife? And the answer really shocked me. The answer conclusively said emotional intelligence.
Really?
Emotional connection, it said. And I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that led me to my emotional intelligence journey. I then realized I was completely disconnected to my emotions, that I was terrified of feeling shame, rejection, that every time any uncomfortable emotion came up, I would immediately project it onto people. And I started to see that there was all this trauma from my childhood that I had not healed and had not resolved. And so that began my journey to become an emotional intelligence educator. I spent the next few years just learning about this, I'm completely self-taught, self-educated, self-led. I have taken things from Tony Robbins, Nicole LaPera, Brene Brown. I've taken things and left things that don't really resonate for me. One of the things I don't like about pop psychology these days is I think that we're really dangerously creating more division. We're using terms such as gaslighting, toxic masculinity, and I really believe that those terms do not empower us to deeply want to understand each other and to have compassion and to really own our part in any dynamic. Anytime there is a conflict between you and another person, it's because you do not understand that person and you are looking at that person from a lens of negative intent. Right? So my work really aims to do is to help people understand themselves better, because when you understand yourself better, you understand others better. When you understand yourself better, you can show up for yourself, meet your needs, ask for what you want, and live your life in a direction that actually feels incredible for you. So in a roundabout way, that's how I got to this place. And now I've spent the last 4 years coaching people one-on-one, and I've seen pattern after pattern after pattern. So I've come up with this emotional intelligence online course called Master Your Emotional Intelligence. And I just want to get this online course into the hands of as many people, parents as possible, because our self-worth comes from that first 7 years. And that's what I really believe is leading to such a huge, issue with mental health in kids these days, because we are not understanding how much people need emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and can we just stop in that point there, the first 7 years? I really want us to have a little bit of a dive on that, Nerida, if we can, because I've heard about this before, and I've done a little research in the past over the years and what have you about abandonment. The term I think it's I was going to say abandonment issues, which is not the term I'm looking for, but there is a term for a certain mental health issue, which I also don't like the term of. But in the first 7 years, if things aren't harmonious or nurturing or supportive or fill in the gap basically in that first 7 years, in later years and in adulthood, it can manifest in that individual without them actually realising it.
Yeah.
And it can manifest in lots of different ways. Can you talk to us a little bit about the first 7 years?
Yes. So the first 7 years is when your emotional home is formed. And let's just say in an average household, you're raised by mum and dad. So you will take on the unresolved emotions of mum and dad. So for me, my father had a lot of unresolved shame and rejection. My mother had a lot of unresolved sadness and loneliness. And so because it's unacknowledged in them, they weren't aware of it, so they projected it onto me, and they felt it so much that I took it on. Because what happens is, in the first 7 years, we are constantly looking for a few things. People are naturally looking for, am I loved? Am I safe? Am I understood? Over and over and over. And we're constantly looking to mum and dad. And we have two systems within us. We have an attachment system and we have a defense system. Our attachment system is wired for love, safety, connection, and understanding. Our defense system is what we bring online when a boundary is being crossed or a need's not being met. It's where we basically say no. Now, if when we bring on our defense system, our attachment is threatened, then we learn to shut that down, because attachment wins every time. So a lot of children learn when mum and dad can't handle your emotions, such as, anger, sadness, fear. Mum and dad, if you learn that they can't handle your emotions, they either project it onto you and say, don't cry, don't be angry, or they just leave, or they just pass you an iPad. You start to learn these emotions in me are bad, so I need to suppress them. And then when you're in a relationship 30, 40 years later, that's still playing out, and then you're sabotaging that relationship. Or when you're going out and you're putting yourself out there for a promotion, or you're at work, you step into perfectionism, procrastination, imposter syndrome. They're all unresolved emotions within you that you haven't learned how to regulate within your system. Because and one thing I want to do is let go of the term mental health. We all have emotions.
Yeah,
if you're a human being on this planet.
I was trying to find it. You can hear my brain ticking, go, I want to get rid of that.
Yes, people don't have mental health or don't. If you're a human being on this planet, it's natural that you will experience emotions. And I don't like to label emotions as good or bad, positive or negative, right or wrong. Emotions just are. They're directives. So when you feel sad, you usually need more connection and love and understanding. When you feel fear, you need security, stability, and safety. When you feel anger, you need a boundary to be honoured or a need to be met. When you feel shame, you need to be reminded of how good you are. When you feel guilt, you need to remind yourself you're not responsible for how other people feel. So every single time an emotion comes up, it is pointing you to redirect your behaviour so that you lean more into authenticity.
Right, yeah.
There is a scale of consciousness, right?
Yes.
And it's basically broken up into three parts. The bottom part is the survival paradigm, which is filled with shame, guilt, sadness, fear, anger, blame, criticism, judgment. The middle tier is more neutral, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, courage, forgiveness. And then the top tier is enlightenment, joy, love, freedom. But do you know the number one, the highest ever emotion you can feel is authenticity?
Interesting.
Interesting, isn't it?
Isn't that?
Because authenticity.
I would not have thought that.
Authenticity basically means like love and freedom and joy and happiness, they are fleeting emotions, right?
Yes.
But the true authenticity and true, I believe, absolute peace comes when you can allow heavy emotions in and know that it's a part of the journey. That's what we're here for. We're here to experience the good just as much as the bad. Yeah. And I wish more people understood that.
In that 7 year period, the first 7 years of your life, I've heard you say before, and I've got this wrong, but there is an example that you use. Is it still face?
Yes, still face experiment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you explain to our audience what that is, please?
Yes. Okay. So there's an amazing experiment that was done 20, 30 years ago. It's not recent, where a mother, they wanted to observe how a child behaves when trying to get connection with with their mother. And so, the video begins with a baby connecting with mum. Baby sitting in a chair, mum standing in front, and it's showing how the mum is mirroring the baby and how the baby's naturally resting in a state of peace and connection because mum is mirroring back to the baby and connecting. So baby smiles, mum smiles back. Baby points, mum looks to where baby points. Baby reaches out to touch mum's face, mum touches the baby. So every time we are mirroring back to somebody that we see them, they instantly feel connected to us. So then what mum does is then mum's instructed to stand up, come back down and just stare at the baby and not to engage, not to mirror.
Right.
So the baby starts trying to connect. So the baby smiles at mum. Mum doesn't smile back. The baby points. Mum doesn't look to point. The baby reaches out. And then as the baby is starting to notice that mum is not mirroring me, baby's behaviour starts to become combative, starts to become disruptive because it's trying to get its need met, right? And this is what we do as human beings.
Yeah.
And we do this whether we're 3, 30, 60. And this is what people don't understand. So baby is naturally trying to get mum's attention and connection because the cortisol is being raised and the fear is coming up in baby and it's feeling confused and wanting mum to connect.
It's a great example, isn't it? And I'm sure our audience and thank you for explaining that. I'm sure our audience, as they were listening to you explain that, actually related to it.
Yes.
Because I certainly did. As soon as you were explaining that to me, I had a couple of personal examples come up myself.
Of course. Every time I coach somebody, like you think about, a whole lifetime, decades of being on this planet.
Yes.
It's so easy when people say, I remember when I was 5. I remember when this time when I was 12 and this happened and that happened and dad did this and mum did that. Like those core memories are lodged inside of our bodies because they're memories where we had an experience where we felt disconnected, and when we feel disconnected from a parent at that age and we don't feel that deep connection, children don't go into, like when I was young, my dad was an alcoholic and he had so much pain. But when I was young, I couldn't look at him and think, Dad can't connect with me because of his own childhood and his own trauma.
No.
Children go into self-blame, self-criticism and self-doubt in order to self-soothe. A child developmentally cannot place blame on a parent or even, not even blame, but accountability on a parent. The child places the blame on themselves. So that's why we have generations of people that constantly... I was just going to say, you
can see how that manifests on a
100%.
Generational level, yeah.
That's why you have people in this office right now who are terrified of making a mistake, or when they make a mistake, they go into total self-blame and overwhelm because they learnt to do that as a child, right, in order to maintain connection. So that's the saddest part, right? Where if we learnt more of this, we would understand how to connect more, how to respond to our kids' needs. But the thing is, you can't tolerate an emotion in a child that you haven't learned how to regulate within yourself.
And that particular point, you can change in yourself.
You can change.
That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Oh, my goodness, 100%. And what I'll say is this. Your child, I've seen this so many times. I've worked with so many parents. As you heal, your children heal with you. So many people come to me and say, can you see my kids? They've got anxiety, depression. I'm like, absolutely not. But I'll work with you, because so many parents want to pass the buck and have their child go off to a psychologist. And that's the most painful thing, because the child is continually coming back into the environment that caused the pain in the first place. You as parents need to take on that responsibility. You need to do the work. Because what happens, right, is all this, I love gentle parenting, but the one thing I don't like is parents, when they're kind of raised in an environment where they're like, oh, I don't really want to parent my kids the same way. I want to learn about gentle parenting. That's awesome, but you should be gentle parenting yourself first. Reparent yourself. Because when you learn to, I know so many women who can support their children and show up for their kids, but yet internally still in so much blame, guilt and shame. And the child's still picking up on that. The child is constantly, you are so connected to your children. So whenever you do the work within, it's always reflected.
One of the things our audience here for Soul Sentred, the podcast, knows, or is certainly learning, is that we are real and raw, and they do know that I don't hold anything back, and I sometimes, overshare and what have you. And I have to say, I just got very emotional with what you just said, because I'm guilty of that myself with my children, because when my kids were growing up, I was the number one breadwinner, so I was always at work. They had nannies, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. And you just brought up a memory then, and I'm sharing this because I'm sure many of our audience have had similar situations. So just to support them in how they might be feeling right now. Is that I remember on a couple of occasions when my children were at primary school and the teachers contacted me and said that there were issues and both the boys needed to start seeing a child psychologist. And so I took them to child psychologists. My boys didn't need to see child psychologists. I needed to. Yeah, I needed to see.
And they needed you.
And they needed me. So, however, more so, as I'm saying, you know, I'm sure our audience are relating to what you're saying right now as well. That's why I'm being real and raw because now I realise that, I mean, I wish you were there, Nerida. I wish you were there because I would have come and seen you. And then, you know, the boys wouldn't have had to go through what they had to go through. I think it's a really it's a great point that you bring up as well.
And I don't bring it up to shame any parents.
No.
That's not what this is about. And I know that that's triggering. And what I want to say is this, is we're always doing the best that we can with what we've got. And, you know, even though we may not have broken some cycles, it didn't mean we didn't break others.
Yes.
So maybe you going to work, maybe you were raised in poverty and like without your...
I was a split family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with my mum.
Yeah, so maybe you were doing what you could to provide for you, because for you financially providing for your family was love. So, and I've got memories, I'm not a parent, but I've got nieces and nephews, and for me, I look at times before I did this work and I cringe. But we really need to practice two things at the same time, right? You have to practice holding yourself in that compassion while also going, okay, I'm now going to take accountability, and what can I do now moving forward?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's not. This isn't about.
It's never too late, right?
It's never too late.
Never too late.
And you know, I'm a big fan of, like, my childhood was filled with trauma, but you know, if I didn't have the childhood I had, there's no way I would have created those two gyms that were so life-changing for so many women. There's no way I'd be doing this work that I'm doing now, a career that is absolutely so fulfilling for me. So if, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
All pain,
Yeah.
you know, there is always a negative and a positive to anything in life.
And as I've said on previous episodes of Soul Sentred, the podcast, with other guests as well, you need that contrast in life.
100%.
Like, how do you know?
That's
how
right.
do you know?
That's right.
What it's like to be like this and be your best self and you know, just be on purpose and live your life, unless you know.
That's right.
What it's
we
like
don't know,
not to, right?
We don't know the light without the dark. We don't know what sunshine feels without the rain.
Exactly.
Right.
Nerida, I want to go back to something that you were saying before, which I'm with you on this one. I really don't like this overuse of the terms gaslighting and toxic masculinity. And whilst I am, you know, a huge supporter and advocate, especially in the domestic violence space, again, my audience knows I am a DV survivor myself. But I have never, even in the book that I wrote this time next year, I have never, the book wasn't even negative about that experience. And my experience was pretty horrific. But what I'm trying to get on this with you right now is that I'm a huge supporter and compassionate and advocate for all services, products and organisations to support that particular space. However, equally, from the male perspective, as a mother of two sons, as the grandmother of a gorgeous little he who shall be king one day, grandson, I'm very concerned about the overuse of terms like gaslighting and toxic masculinity. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. So what we need to understand is no one's driven to change when they feel shame, okay? Shame only continues to perpetuate more and more violence and pain. So when we start talking about and what we don't recognise is the person's, like the actual victim's part in that. Okay, so the more that I've done this work, what I've come to see is that women are naturally attracted to a man who is violent and abusive because of their own pain.
Interesting.
Always, every day of the week. Because when you go back, right, when I've sat, and I've got plenty of clients who've walked this path, and it's very challenging for them to sit with this because they don't like, and people don't like to face this. But anytime there is some sort of violence, you go a step back, and I say to my client, when was the first time that you felt intimidated, scared, a little bit off with this person? It's always in the first, it's always early on. Okay, in that moment, when that happened, what did you do? Why did you, one thing I really want to say to women is a man who is not making you feel safe, when you are moving closer to that man and trying to change him, you are in a wound. If a woman that's in her self-worth and truly knows who she is and is confident and feels good inside, if a man ever dared make her feel unsafe, make her feel scared, make her feel nervous or anxious, she would step away from that man and she would say, it's been nice to meet you. Off I go.
See you later.
So, and I don't say this to blame women. I don't say this at all. No. But what I say is when we have this language around perpetually putting women in that victim circumstance, we actually don't do them a service. We actually do them a disservice because they're going to continue to repeat that cycle over and over because they're not seeing their own part in it, right?
Yeah.
I'm about helping everyone wake up so that they see their own part in the cycle they're creating because as the Bible says, as within, so without, as above, so below. Whatever you have unconsciously within you, you will create outside of you. It is law, okay? So when a woman deep down on a deeper level doesn't feel worthy of safe, secure, healthy love, she will every day of the week choose a man who is unsafe, not healthy, and she will continue to play out that wound until she wakes up and sees her part in it, and then she'll choose different.
How can she wake up? How do you help in that situation? Go back, look at the very first time, and then look at what boundaries where are you continuing to pursue a relationship with somebody that you do not feel safe and supported and in a healthy relationship with. And that might be challenging too because if you haven't come from healthy, safe love, it's hard to identify. So I get that. But guess what? We live in a world now where if you have no money, you can still do a lot of work on yourself through podcasts, audiobooks. Get on and start looking for healthy, safe role models. Get online and start learning what does a healthy relationship look like? What should be happening? Like what's my part in this, right? Educate yourself. Even if you have no money, yeah. Do you think on that note, Nerida, that social media, because social media is huge, I think we've spoken about this before. So most people wake up in the morning and instead of saying, "Yay, I'm alive," they say, "Oh, how many likes did I get on Instagram this morning?" Do you think social media is contributing to the increase of women thinking that, oh, I might be in an abusive relationship because there's this pattern or I've seen this going on or what have you, where in fact they're not, they sort of create a little story in their mind. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What I'm trying.
Well, I think social media is generally pretty neutral. Okay, so I think social media is just it's you will find in social media whatever you're looking for in life.
Right.
So my social media is full of like educational things, inspiring people.
Yeah, mine too.
It's
That's
not,
how I found you.
Yeah, yeah. It's not full of stuff that's going to make me feel like shit, and it's not full of stuff that's going to reaffirm like a victim mentality.
Gotcha.
So if you're finding that on social media, notice that that's something you are searching for and you are looking to validate and to relieve yourself of any responsibility and accountability. And if you're in that pattern, that's fine. I was in that pattern until 5 years ago. Okay? I was a victim until I was in my lounge room 5 years ago in the middle of the lockdown in so much pain that I finally looked at and said to myself, well, you're the common denominator here. So if this is resonating for you and you are ready for change, see your pattern in this and own it fully. fully, and start following accounts that support you to do that support you to learn how to communicate, to learn how to connect to your feelings, to learn how to set boundaries, to learn how to move away from people that don't know how to honor those boundaries. My course helps you do this. And if you buy my course, we've created a special discount code for all of your listeners. If you go onto my website, neridabint.com, and you look for Master Your Emotional Intelligence online course, you're entitled to a $1,500 discount when you enter the code podcast at checkout, $4.99.
That's fantastic.
I'm offering to all of your listeners.
Thank you.
So go and start learning these skills, and I guarantee you your life can change in an instant. Mine did.
People pleasing.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about this and narcissism? Let's go there.
I used to be a people pleaser.
Yeah. I used to be a narcissist.
And then I met the love of my life, and he taught me that I didn't need to do that anymore. Just be me. Can you talk to us about people pleasing?
Yes, people pleasing.
And narcissism.
Yeah, people.
Oh, and before, sorry to interrupt.
No.
It is my way. Remember all the questions I'm about to ask you, Nerida. I have this theory that the term narcissist and narcissism is being thrown around like water in a rainstorm.
100%.
Just wanted to put that in there.
It's another, you can add that to gaslighting, toxic masculinity. It's another thing to absolve yourself of any responsibility, and it just creates more division. Okay, I'm a recovering narcissist. Now, people pleasing and narcissism are two sides of the same coin. They're both ways that...
Oh, I'm a narcissist?
No, but they're both ways that people try to get their needs met. But what happens is, as a child, you learnt, for whatever reason, did you have siblings?
Yes, a lot older than I.
Great, there you go.
15, the next eldest was 11 years, and then 14 and then 15.
Yeah. So what will happen is we're always trying to get our needs met, no matter how maladaptive that might be. Okay, so for me, narcissists often learn in childhood, I can't get my needs met by mum and dad. I need to go internal, and I need to focus within to get my needs met. So what we do is we overly focus on our own needs, and we sort of tune out to anyone else's. What people pleasers do is the complete opposite. My needs don't matter, but I'm going to go outward and make sure everyone else around me is happy, so that then therefore my need can be met, which is to feel okay. So it's two sides of the same coin.
Right.
So people pleasers often abandon their own needs and then feel resentful later on.
Yes.
But the resentment comes because you've abandoned yourself, because you haven't advocated, spoken up, been honest, right? Yes. And then what do people pleasers often do is blame the narcissist, but yet, you know, anything in life, you have it, every single experience, person, you get to choose. So if you notice you're entering into a relationship with a friend or a partner who continually does not meet you where you want to be met, guess what? You can always step aside and go and find people who can meet you where you want to be met. But what a lot of people don't want to do is they don't want to do that. They want to continue that cycle and continue to try and change the other person.
Yes.
Because they're in a wound. They're trying to change mum or dad.
Yes.
That's what a people pleaser is.
Wow.
You're in a childhood wound, trying to get mum or dad to see you and show up for you. But the work is in letting go of trying to change that other person and changing yourself.
Wow. It's all so similar to all of the steps that you've been sharing with us on Soul Sentred, the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all apart. I'm not going to say it's enlightening, and I'm sure our audience, many of them may or may not agree with me. I won't say it's enlightening to hear what you're sharing with us today, because there seems to be a little bit of that's right, but a sort of a knowing. And so I say that with deepest respect. What I want to say onto that is that, so with that knowing, does that tell you, as somebody's coach or mentor or supporter, does that tell you that, well, then you're just resisting, or if you already know, if this is resonating with you right now, you already know what you know. So then is the question, what is it that you need help with, you need to work on in order to change that?
Yeah. So, I it's an interesting question. I've asked myself this many times. Like, I was 38 when I first woke up. Like, when I first looked at myself and I was like, it's me. I'm the problem. Some people do that in their 20s. Some do it in their 60s. Some never do it. Some live their whole life. And I really believe that's a karmic thing. Whenever you wake up, who knows? But what I will say is this. A lie needs to be repeated 1,000 times. The truth you feel in an instant. So if you feel this, and you probably feel a mix of feeling triggered but also curious, that's a good sign that this is for you. This resonates and it's meant for you. You're meant to be here and hear this. And I was the same on the couch 5 years ago when I was, finally watching things and listening to things, and it really hit me. Whereas years prior, I wasn't looking for it because I wasn't in a place where I needed it. Timing is everything, right?
Gotcha.
But if the knowing is hitting you, but it's also feeling uncomfortable, it's a good sign. It's not comfortable. Healing is not like all, sunshines and, what is it? Unicorns and rainbows. It's enlightening and it's also depressing. But that's the whole, contrast, right?
Yeah.
That's the journey. For me, my healing journey, I would say, I've been in the personal development space for 15 years, but for the first 10 years, it was all positive and inspiring and motivational. And it was only in the last 5 years that it's been the shadow and like looking within and excavating like really taking that next level responsibility. So, that's why you won't see me like, I only get asked to do very specific kind of keynote speakers and stuff like that. I don't like a lot of the events and stuff that you see these days because in America, they're further ahead than we are. But in Australia, I get very frustrated because we put on these huge events and we go and we talk, we're trying to be positive and we're trying to talk about wellness and mental health, but we're not actually getting to the root cause. Like, it's all just smoke screen.
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
Like,
I've seen that. I know exactly what you're saying.
Get to the root cause. Straight away, responsibility, conscious mind, unconscious mind, behavior, emotional intelligence, somatic healing. Get to the root cause. If we spent the next 5 to 10 years doing this, our entire country would look so different. We would know how to communicate. We'd know how to regulate our emotions. We would know how to honour what we need.
Tell us about the course.
So Master Your Emotional Intelligence is 6 modules. It's over 80 videos and worksheets. Every single lesson has a worksheet and a video lesson in it. It's my life's work. It's everything that I've gone out into the world and looked at and gone, this resonates for me. I see value in this. And, it's a huge proponent of that. And it's also some of the frameworks I've created for myself, which is the emotional home, helping people to understand their emotional home, how it's manifested between mum and dad, how it's created, how they can change it. There's a lot of work around limiting beliefs because you will always attract what you are, not what you want.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, I was very confused because I really, really wanted to meet my soulmate and get married and have kids, but I didn't realize that my thinking every single day was in opposition to that. If you have a desire, think about this, right? So I'm quite successful, right?
Yes.
I love my career. I genuinely feel good in it. So when I have no resistance to it, I don't have any of that overthinking, any of that self-doubt. I just don't. So that's why it just happens, right?
Exactly.
But it was a very dark day when I realized I wanted marriage and children, but yet I was not creating it. But then what I realized was I had a desire, but I had a lot of resistance to that desire. What is resistance? It is all of the thinking and feeling that goes in opposition with that. If I was a woman that wanted to get married and have kids, what would I be thinking about myself and feeling about myself? I'd be confident. I'd feel worthy. I'd say yes to going on dates because I would feel like a woman who would be, knew she was going to have a man fall in love with her. But was I that person? No. I was the complete opposite. I would say no to blind dates. I was terrified of rejection. I constantly would say to myself, I'm never going to find someone. I'm going to be all alone, da-da-da-da. Now, the minute I realized this, I learned about this, it was mind-blowing to me. And then literally within a year of changing that, I met my soulmate. I'm blissfully in love. And, we're starting that process. So I wish more people understood this. And my course really goes into that. It's actionable tools and techniques. It's not just airy-fairy. It's like you can actually have the tools to implement to create change that will change your life forever. And what I want to say to you is whatever you don't have in your life, it's because you're unwilling to feel a feeling.
Yeah.
So most people are terrified of feeling shame, terrified of feeling fear, terrified of feeling rejection, criticism. When you learn to teach yourself, like when I learned, yep, you will go on a few dates and you might be rejected. And if you are, that's okay. You will feel it, you will sit in it, and you will cry, you'll release it. And what I didn't realize was this was years and years and years of built up pain and rejection from my father that I needed to release.
Yeah.
It's always connected to a parent. Always.
Yeah.
But when you learn how to do that, you get what you want.
And where can people get your course, Nerida?
If you go to my Instagram, Nerida Bint, or my website, it's right there in the link, Master Emotional Intelligence online course. I encourage you to jump on there. It will change your life. And if you use the code podcast, you will get a $1,500 discount by listening to this episode. And I'd love to see you in there. And you can book a call with me as well if there are any questions that you have throughout the course. But the feedback we've been getting already is just incredible. So it's my life's work and I'm very proud of it.
We have so much more to dive in with you. We thought this would just be one episode. I would love to invite you back in the future on another episode of Soul Sentred, the podcast. And also we have got you we're embellishing everything about you and more information on what you do in an upcoming issue of the Soul Sentred magazine as well.
Yes, I can't wait. Thank you so much. It's such an honour.
That's going to be fantastic. Nerida, thank you so much for joining us here today on Soul Sentred, the podcast. It's been insightful, it's been empowering, but it's also been a little bit self-reflecting for each and every one of us to take away from today. And I'm so grateful to have you in here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Like every single one of these episodes is healing people on that deeper emotional level. So you won't even realize or understand the depth of what this podcast is doing out in the world. So, I just want to acknowledge you for that and the work that you're doing. So please take that in.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you for joining us on another fabulous episode of Soul Sentred, the podcast. That's Soul Centre with an S. Remember that. And of course, remember to also to subscribe, share. I'm sure there's been heaps of things in today's podcast that you have thought of not only just for yourself, but you might have somebody in your life that might just need to hear these messages. Make sure you share it, like it, comment. And of course, the Soul Sentred magazine, you know where to get that at soulcentre.com. Go to our website, subscribe. You'll never miss an episode of that as well. And it's been great to have your company with us once again. I look forward to you joining us wherever you get your favourite podcasts. I'm Jaynie Morris. This is Soul Sentred, the podcast.